All MMO players have one thing in common: they all want to have the best dressed character in the raid. Well, weapons are just as much a part of your outfit as armor. Everybody wants super cool weapons, but nobody wants to put in the work to get them. Fair enough, I suppose. Just look at all this work required to get a legendary weapon. I've made a video on this topic before showing cool weapons that require no effort at all. Well, in this video, we'll be looking at a bunch of really cool weapons that require medium effort. One might say they are moderately easy to acquire. The weapons in this video will require a little bit of effort, but I would still say they are easy and straightforward to get. Just so you're aware, some of these will require access to expansions and some high-end crafting materials. So if you don't have those things, you might want to just save these as a goal to work towards later. Some of these will require you to complete a collection, and I'm not going to go through every single collection step by step. That'll take too long and be a little boring to watch. Some collections also include a little bit of extra lore dialogue between characters. So for those of you interested in that sort of thing, I'm not going to spoil that for you. First up is 3 weapons that are available in the base game. I've talked about these in the previous video, but I'll mention them here again. ArenaNet once held a weapon design contest. Anyone could design a weapon, and then the top 3 designs after community voting would be added to the game. These weapons are Eclipse, a greatsword, Scion's Claw, a sword, and Favor of the Colossus, a torch. How you unlock these is pretty easy. You just complete a simple collection. To start the collections, you'll need to craft an item in the Mystic Forge that will require a few high-end crafting materials, such as lesser vision crystals. But once you start the collection, it's very easy to complete. All you do is just travel around and talk to an NPC. I have already completed all of these, so I'm not going to be able to show you step by step, but there is a detailed guide on the wiki that will tell you exactly where you need to go. At the end, you'll need to give the NPC an oiled orichalcum weapon part, which they will then turn into the weapon for you. These are some fantastic weapon skins that generally everyone should be able to get. And it's really cool to think that these were fan-made designs. You know, I'd like to see ArenaNet do another one of these design contests. I'm sure there are many designers out there who would love the opportunity. Next, we have some weapons that are part of the Secrets of the Obscure expansion. You can get them in a similar way, just by completing collections. We will start with the Eternal Blade, which, fun fact, is a sword taken directly from Guild Wars 1. It's meant to be a replica of the sword belonging to Tarai Asa. For this sword, you will need to complete the Echoes of the Obscure collection. This will have you talk to a few NPCs and collect a few items. But you'll need to actually keep these items. One of the last steps in the collection is to use them in the Mystic Forge with an Asa Crusader inscription. If you happen to discard all these items, you can get another copy, but you're going to have to travel around and get them all again. But I think this is actually a really cool design, especially for those Guild Wars 1 players who love to see those old school weapons make a return. Up next is Strength of the Unseen, a great sword. This is very cool, probably one of my favorites that they've added to the game in a really long time. Dare I say, it almost looks legendary quality. When stowed, it just looks like an invisible golden spirit sword, but then when drawn, it takes on its true form, which looks great. It's a really clean design, and it keeps that nice golden energy sheen on it too. For this sword, you'll need to complete the collection of the same name, which will require you to complete the Mabon's Fate achievement as a prerequisite. The whole collection is pretty easy. All you have to do is travel around, talk to NPCs, and interact with journal entries. This is a collection that includes some interesting lore dialogue that you would otherwise miss out on. So for those of you interested, I'm not going to spoil any of it. There is a detailed guide on the wiki showing you exactly where to go and what you need to do. Or if you prefer the hard way, the collection gives you a vague guide on what to do. So it's up to you which method you prefer. Next up, a staff, Spire of the Forgotten. This one I think matches the Druid or Sylvari style really well. I feel like it was probably designed with those things in mind. If you look closely, the plants on it flow when you move, and the little fluid inside of it moves as well. This is another really easy collection. There's only 4 steps, and the first 3 are all located in Bastion of the Natural. So honestly, just complete all the events available in that area, and you'll be well on your way. Because Nourish the Natural achievement is actually a prerequisite for this collection, and for that achievement, you have to complete every available event in that area. And then finally, you will also need to complete the Forgotten Lore achievement, which will require you to complete temple events or a couple jumping puzzles on ore. There's also a few other weapons that are also part of this same category, like there's a longbow, a torch, a focus, but I just think the 3 that I focused on are the best looking of the bunch. Now, when talking about weapon collections, we have to quickly touch on the elite spec weapons. I'm sure you're aware that every elite spec has a weapon that can be acquired by completing a collection, but in case you've never actually looked closely at any of these weapons, they're actually really nice. Like I said, there's a collection for every weapon on every elite spec from every expansion. Some of them look a lot better than others, and there are a lot of them, so I'm just going to show you a few of my personal favorites. The Willbender Sword Purifier. Very cool, bright red designs, got the tassels on the end, and that red gem in the middle glows and leaves a little red trail when you move. The Cutting Edge, the Hollowsmith Sword. I mean, come on, it's a lightsaber. Do I need to say more? Then there is Dark Harvest, the Reaper Greatsword, and Dichotomy, the Vindicator Greatsword. Both of these greatswords are animated. Dark Harvest has that black smoky effect on the blade, very spooky and sinister, and Dichotomy has that ice and fire look, although only when it's drawn. The colors, I'm sure, are meant to represent the Luxon and Kurzik sides of the Vindicator. Then I also really like the Keenest Cut, the Bladesworn pistol. Very cool, it's got a really clean design. 4 gun barrels, gold trim, the little dangling dragon claw. Anyways, like I said, there are a lot of these weapons, and for the most part, they all look really good. So if you've never actually looked through these, have a look through them and see which ones you like. And they are all ascended level weapons, so if you're still on the hunt for ascended level gear, the great source right here. But like I said, you do need to complete a collection, which will require you to play through some content as that profession. So if you want these, you're gonna have to dust off those alt characters, which is what I plan to do, so I can go collect the rest of them. Okay, now I want to talk about Caladbolg, the great sword originally belonging to the firstborn Rhiannoch. This is especially good for those of you who want a weapon that is actually part of the game lore. You can actually get this greatsword and other weapons like it for yourself. There is a side story quest line called Knight of the Thorn. Upon completing this side story, you will get to choose one of 5 Caladbolg themed weapons. A greatsword, sword, dagger, scepter, or shield. Each of them are styled after the original Caladbolg, although they are slightly different. They seem to have a bit more branches and leaves on them. But if you do unlock all of them, you can also unlock the original Caladbolg greatsword in all its glory. You can easily unlock all the skins just by using Unbound Magic to swap your chosen weapon into a different one. Now, full disclosure, this whole side story takes place after Heart of Thorns, and it will require collections and crafting ascended level materials, so you will need to be level 500 in any of the weapon crafting disciplines. If you want to unlock each weapon as its own usable weapon and not just the skin, you'll need to complete Heart of Thorns on another character to be able to craft another Caladbolg weapon. Now, to finish off, I'd like to give a quick shout out to some cool looking weapons that can just be bought straight off the trading post. All of them are not too expensive, so everyone should be able to afford them. First one is a sword, Lord Terrace's Shadow. That's how you pronounce it, right? Lord Terrace? That's always what I thought. Anyways, this is a really cool one with a spooky looking particle effect on it. Fun fact, it's named after Eternal Lord Terrace, who is a lord of Balthazar's Eternal Army in Guild Wars 1. The Crystal Guardian, a great sword that appears to be made up of a few crystal rock formations held together by an invisible force. Shiverstone, a mace. If you've ever wanted to smack your enemies with a giant block of ice, look no further. It also has a cold, frosty particle effect on it too. Gate of Heaven, another great sword. This one has a pretty simple design, but what's cool about it is when it's stowed, it actually has a blade guard that covers the blade, which is a pretty nice touch. You don't see that very often on any of the weapons. And finally, Piranha's Bite, a harpoon gun. Another simple design, but a really good one at that. I really like the gold trim on it, so if you've been looking for some pretty cheap ones that also look great, check these out and pick them up. So with all that being said, I think that'll be a wrap on this edition of easy to get beautiful weapons, or I guess moderately easy like I said in the intro. As always, there are still a lot more weapons out there that could be added to the list. So if you happen to know of any that you want to draw some attention to, feel free to share with the group, and maybe we'll eventually revisit this topic. Anyways, that'll be all for now. Thank you for watching if you made it this far, and bye for now.